Today I'm at the New South Wales Garden of Remembrance to talk about death. Imagine for a moment that we had the ability to say the exact day and time that you would die. That you could ask somebody or something and it would be able to tell you that in 100 days you would die. Imagine that for a moment. Would you want to know that day? Perhaps it would allow you to plan out your life in the best way possible. Do the things that you actually wanted to do in life. Perhaps knowing that day would make you even more worried and stressed that every single day would be counting towards that eventual death. Perhaps you wouldn't want to know. What do you choose? But let's first think about what is death? If we had a jar and we could put your brain in that jar and we had an artificial mouth, an artificial body for you to speak in, would you be alive? Imagine 100 years in the future where perhaps we're able to preserve our mental processes. We have an artificial mouth, an artificial way to sustain our mind. But if you asked this being, it would reply, "What is your name? How long have you lived for?" It would reply. So I think, would that be alive? Probably most of us would regard that as being alive. Just notice for a second that we can't actually apply this to ourselves. I can't call out my own brain and say, "What's your name? Are you there? How old are you?" And so what we understand as death is actually a story in others. It's a way of understanding a really simple thing. When somebody no longer replies, no longer responds. It's a story that we create to try to understand. And it is rooted only in memory. Memory about the past, about what we expect for the future. It is because we live in the ever immortal present. There is no past and there is no future. We do not know when death will come because death itself is a concept that we have created. The degradation of our body as we watch our fellow people sit in hospital, "I am dying from COVID," or moments before a terrorism incident or other tragedy, people finally say, "I am dying." Because it's at that moment that we piece together the present with the story of our past, with our memory. Because we are always dying. We are dying right now. We are heading towards what we think, or what we believe as being death. Except if I wiped your memory, if I wiped everything in your mind, you'd have no sense of age. You'd have no sense of who you were before. Your healthier self, the self before a perceived tragedy. You would have no sense of death, because death is only part of the story. It's part of what we create. We are ever immortal because the present is all that there is. Everything else is just a thought. Look around you. Look at the device you're watching this on, at the sky, at the room, whatever is around you. Let it resolve into just experience. There is no room. There are no birds chirping. It's just a pattern of sensation in our present and consciousness. If I could tell you the exact day and time that you would die, would you want to know? I would say it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Because we live here and now and only here and now. Everything else is just a story. It's just what we tell ourselves to create the path from the past to the present and project it into the future. Because true freedom, when it comes to living a life that is free from anxiety, free from worry about the past, is to be free from the concept itself. It is to be free from understanding death as some inevitable outcome, but to recognize there is no death. We always exist in the present. And that is all that there ever will be, right now and right now. Because as I walk around the Garden of Remembrance, I'm reminded of what these plaques truly mean. These servicemen and women did not die, they never died. Instead, they continue to live. And they live to the exact same extent that they lived 100 years ago. That is, as stories, as people that we saw in our minds, as thoughts and memories. Thoughts and memories that are no more real back then than they are right now. Life is here. Life is here in this cemetery, and it always will be. Because life exists only in the mind. I hope you have an amazing day.